What's up, PGF Nation? Today, we're digging into our 8 NFL draft sleepers that are about to blow up. These are guys that nobody's talking about right now, but everyone is going to be talking about them next fall in the NFL. I'm Brad Fowler. He's Alex Higdon. Alex, let's kick this off. Who's the first sleeper you want to get to?
Well, the first sleeper that I have, I wouldn't say that he's necessarily a sleeper, but he's a guy that could sneak into the first round, but he's more than likely going to be the second round. Is D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana. This guy plays like he's 6'2", 230 pounds, but yet more than likely in the NFL, he'll be a slot. He hits with power. He plays big. They're going to kick him in. He's more than likely going to be kicked inside, but he's strong and sturdy enough to play outside. Similar to a guy that played I think it was Louisiana Running Rebels. I think it was Amik Robertson, a guy that's small. It's about 5'8", 5'9", but he plays big, always where he's supposed to be. Now, he may not be big enough to make the tackles on the NFL level, but in college, he was able to play outside, play diligently, and play smart.
Yeah, I love this guy, man. And look, if he was 6 feet tall, he'd be a first-round pick. If he was 6 feet tall, he'd be the first cornerback in this class. It's that he's just undersized. It's really the only red flag. I mean, his tape is flawless. The guy is fantastic. You want to talk about a high IQ player who reads defenses at an extremely high level, read and react quickness, ball skills, like you said, tough, plays bigger than his size. He is a tough physical guy for being the size that he is. Probably does have to kick inside because of the size. I think it's going to be tough for him to take on big X receivers at the NFL level, but I'm not going to bet against him. I'll tell you that. I'm not going to bet against this guy. He is such a good player. He's going to go in probably the second round. I don't think he'll be there in the third. Maybe that's the farthest I could see him dropping. He's just too talented to fall past that. But he's probably going to go in the second and probably end up being a steal in the second round. So, that's the thing about these draft sleepers, Alex, is you don't have to be a 6th, 7th round pick to be a sleeper, right? There's a lot of day 2 guys, day 3 guys that look, if you have a first round grade on a second round player, to me, that's still considered a sleeper. Now, we're going to get into some guys that are 3rd, 4th round guys, some 5th round guys, of course. But if a guy is going to outperform their draft pick, that to me qualifies as a sleeper. So these are guys that we think are going to be better than where they're selected at the next level. And before I go to my first guy, I got to get something off my chest here real quick, Alex, because just like a lot of us this time of year, everybody's dialed in to all this NFL draft coverage. Watch the shows, listen to the podcast. Just because we do a podcast, obviously we consume a lot of this draft media as well, because it's fascinating to hear other guys' takes, right? What other people think about these players. It's always fascinating. And I'm not trying to take shots at any one in particular, but I just have to say that there's a lot of these NFL shows and NFL podcasts that just cover the NFL. And then draft season rolls around and they like to parachute into draft season when they didn't watch any college football all year long. And they're going to pretend like there's some draft analyst now because they cover the NFL. They think they know all this stuff about these college guys. It kind of bugs me, Alex. If I'm being honest, I just had to get that off my chest because look, this show at PGF, we watch college football just like we watch the NFL. This is one of the few shows that you can find out there where we cover NFL and college football. And I think it makes us more qualified than most to talk about the NFL draft. And look, we watched all these guys play on Saturday. We know these guys. We covered these guys, right? I just feel like it gives us an edge over a lot of these other podcasters out there. So I just had to get that off my chest here. So I'm going to give you guys a sleeper that I really like. The more I watch this guy, the more I'm just falling in love with this guy's tape. Ario Davis, cornerback out of Washington. This is a big physical corner, long arms, good speed, 4.4 40. He's a guy who's a willing, efficient tackler, good in coverage. I think he's a late day 2, probably early day 3 guy. So I'm thinking maybe 3rd, 4th round is where this guy's going to go off the board. 33-inch arms. He can squeeze those throwing lanes and make throwing lanes disappear for quarterbacks. Good closing speed, nice burst. He's a big-time athlete. And when you're talking about a guy with size, length, and speed at corner, Those are the kind of guys that I'm circling here. Teams that run those heavy zone press man coverages, he's going to be a guy that they're going to absolutely love. So remember the name Takario Davis, because when you're talking about a guy who's got big time athletic ability and size to play the position, those are the guys I love in day 2, day 3 that I think could be a steal in this draft. All right, Alex, who's next on your sleeper list here?
Okay, now who's next on my sleeper list is actually my favorite player on my sleeper list, even though I didn't start with him number one.
Okay,
It's
go.
a guy who's 5'8", 220 pounds, runs a 4.5. His name is Jonah Coleman, running back from Washington. This guy is all about toughness, and he's also big enough to handle the full load, being the lead back. Should they find it necessary to put him in as a lead back, he can handle that as well. Now, what I will say is his weaknesses are he can't go left to right is not his strength. His strength is north and south. That's it. He's either going forward or he's going backwards. He's not going to outrun anybody, but he's going to fall, but he's always going to fall forward. And when he gets to moving, he's going to punish and run over a few people as well. Now, what I saw from him at Washington, when you watch him at Washington, he did get better at some of his lateral movements, but don't look for him to be Reggie Bush. Look for him to be, and I say this name with tongue-in-cheek, be Jerome Bettis. Just go straight forward. He's just going to go straight forward through the hole. See hole, run through hole, get through hole. That's going to be his job. That is what he'll do. And also, he can catch a little bit too. I believe he had 31 catches this past season at Washington.
Yeah, I mentioned this guy on an earlier episode. I think I described him as a sawed-off shotgun. He's just this tough, kind of hard-nosed, like you said, downhill runner, physical, kind of a throwback, right? Between the tackles, smash mouth type of runner. And I mentioned this once again on another pod, but doesn't he just feel like a Detroit Lions running back? He just feels, I mean, like, I know they have Gibbs, right? And I think that's part of why I like him there, because they lose David Montgomery, and Montgomery was a little more of their traditional physical between the tackles guy. Jahmyr Gibbs was kind of the change of pace, speedy home run hitter. It feels like they need to replace some of that physical hard-nosed running. I just think this guy in the mid rounds, like we're talking about here, a little bit of a sleeper player here, he just feels like a lion, just tough, smash mouth, one of those guys that I think he fits the culture and what they're looking for at that position.
Right. And then I believe they did sign Isaiah Pacheco, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they did sign Isaiah Pacheco. However, Isaiah Pacheco is this similar style runner that he's just a lot energetic, lightning through the hole. And if he breaks free, look out.
Yeah. Physical, tough. Because I think that's what they're looking to replace. To that point, Pacheco, I think they're trying to find somebody to kind of replace some of that tough running, that to give that compliment to Jahmyr Gibbs. Here's a guy that I really like, Alex, another sleeper here.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Hecht, center out of Kansas State. 2-time all Big 12 selection, really high football IQ, calls out all the protections, gets everybody lined up. A guy who dominated at the Senior Bowl, was really, really good in the one-on-one drills, elite pass protection. Get this, 0 sacks allowed and only 1 quarterback hit over his last 2 seasons in college. This guy is really good in pass pro. He's a technician. The ability for him to get to that second level, pick up linebackers in the run game, maybe the best in this entire class at the center position. I really like this kid's game. I think he's probably somewhere between a 3rd and 5th round pick. 4th round kind of sweet spot. But I could see him going as early as the 3rd. I think he's one of the best centers in this class, and there's a few good ones, but I really like Sam Hecht, and I think he's going to be a heck of a value in the mid rounds.
Okay, so now my third guy. This is my second favorite, draft sleeper in the draft. He may not be a sleeper as much. His name is Dazon Stribling, a kid out of Hawaii, who came in, and what I loved about what I saw on tape from him is wherever he was, whether he was at Washington State, whether he was at Oklahoma State, whether he was at Ole Miss, you basically got the same player. So it didn't matter the quarterback, it didn't matter the school, going from the East Coast to, I guess, down to the South. It did not matter. You got the same guy every single year. Now, he's a fifth-year senior. He did get hurt his junior year. He got hurt at Oklahoma State. But he's consistently giving you, well, at least as a sophomore, he gave you 600 yards. But then as a junior and a senior, he gave you 800 and 800 yards and six touchdowns every single year. This is a guy that I can see. And let's not forget to mention he's 6'2" and ran a 4.36 as well. So this is a guy that's simply going to be that guy that's going to be the same guy every year. He may not be getting you 1,500 yards, but if you're looking for a guy that's going to give you 800 to 1,000 yards and give you 6 to 8 touchdowns every year, Deshaun Stribling is your guy.
Yeah, and he's the guy that seems like he's climbing draft boards because there's a little bit of buzz right now for him during this pre-draft process. And you're right. You mentioned something there that I want to hit on. I love guys who are system-proof, guys who are quarterback-proof. Because to your point, played in a lot of different systems, played with a lot of different quarterbacks, and was productive everywhere he went. That tells me that he's a guy that's going to plug in to anywhere in the NFL and find a role. He's going to find a way to be an impact guy. So I love it. And you're right. Size, speed, he checks a lot of boxes. I'll give you a guy, because we're talking wide receivers. This is my favorite sleeper in the whole draft. And it's, look, I've already talked about him on an earlier episode. I absolutely love this guy. Ted Hurst, wide receiver out of Georgia State. Another guy that's getting a lot of buzz right now and maybe doesn't even feel like a sleeper anymore at this point. I mean, he's getting talked about that much, but rightfully so, because this guy is a prototypical X receiver with elite athletic traits, prototypical size. He is the best high point receiver in this class, just snatches the ball out of the air, boxes out defenders, 33-inch arms, 6'4" frame, crushed it at the Senior Bowl, showed off a rare combination of size, speed, great hands, really clean, crisp route runner. This was a guy that was on Feldman's college freaks list, and look, it shows because he's the real deal. He's got the combination of everything you want in a big X receiver. Don't be surprised. I'm telling you this right now. Don't be surprised if 3 years from now, Ted Hurst is the best wide receiver taken in this draft.
All right, everybody, write that down right now. Everybody, let's write that down. That he's not the
that'll
best
probably end up on cold takes.
Yeah. So we've talked about a few guys. I'm going to go back because my list has been nothing but the DBs, a running back, and a wide receiver. So my last guy is a DB. It's Chris Johnson. I'm trying to think about how to describe Chris Johnson. Because coming from San Diego State, he's a 3-year starter, stayed at the same school, but got better every single year. He had an interception his sophomore and junior year, and then ended up with 4 and the most yards returned and 2 touchdowns his senior year. But this is a guy, once again, just a steady rack of plays. Play after play after play. Now, this is a guy that could be first or second round, but I think because he went to a smaller school, he's going to end up being the third in the third or fourth round for the most part. But I like what I've seen from him. I did go back and I looked at a few games. I kept trying to find a big time receiver that we would name that he went against. I couldn't find one. But however, whoever he went against, he was locked down every single time and did his job.
Look, man, I love Chris Johnson. You're not going to get any pushback from me. I think this guy's fantastic. I think you're right. I think if he played in the Big Ten or the SEC, he'd be a first-round pick lock. He's that good of a player. I think sometimes, look, we talk about it on the show, and we're all guilty of it to a certain degree at times. Sometimes we scout the helmet a little too much, right? And we don't scout the player enough, and we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. We all do it. I just think if this guy had a little more exposure and played against a higher level competition, people would feel even better about how good he is. But when you're talking about size, speed, length, ball skills, like he checks all those boxes, man. He was really good at the Senior Bowl. And when you go to a smaller school, you go to a group of 5 school and you play against these other top prospects from the big schools and you show out, that's a big check mark for me. And he did that. So I like Chris Johnson a lot. And look, truth be told, when I was filling out my All-American ballot, I voted for him. He
Wow.
was a guy that made my All-American ballot. Yeah, I really like this guy, man. I think he's a really good player. So, yeah, I love that pick, man. My last sleeper here, Alex, I'm going to stick with the defensive side of the ball. Caleb Proctor, defensive tackle for Southeast Louisiana.
Oof.
Not Caden Proctor, who made our boomer bust list on our recent episode. Don't get it confused with Big Caden Proctor out of Alabama. This is Caleb Proctor out of Southeast Louisiana. Small school guy, and is going to fly under the radar a little bit because of that. But look, he was the Southland Conference Defensive Player of the Year. He was a standout at the East-West Shrine Game, elite athletic showing at the Combine. So that's something that I always look at. Can you perform at these all-star games against bigger school guys, better competition? He did that. Goes to the Combine, shows that he's an elite athlete. So check. And when you watch the tape, it shows because he is an elite 3-tech pass rusher from the inside. This is a guy that can push the pocket. This is the guy that can get past guards and centers and really put pressure on quarterbacks because he has elite first step quickness. I mean, he can really get off the ball. He's got a developed repertoire of pass rush moves. So he's a polished prospect who knows how to beat pass protection, and he's a high motor player. A guy that is relentless, never gives up on a play, even backside pursuit when the play is on the other side of the field. You'll watch him chasing down ball carriers from the backside because he never gives up. He's probably a late 2, early day 3 guy, another guy that probably falls into that round 3, round 4 range. Maybe he falls into round 5. I'll give you an NFL comp for this guy. He reminds me of Milton Williams. So, just to kind of give you an idea what type of player I think he could be. And he finished 2025 with 9 sacks and 13 tackles for a loss. For a D tackle, those are big time numbers.
As he's 6'2", 291. Is he on the inside or is he on the out? Yeah, is he on the inside in a 4-3 or is he on the outside in a 3-4?
So I think he'll be a 3-tech in a 4-3.
Okay.
I think I think that's where he ideally fits. So he is going to be a guy who is scheme dependent, right? Like you're not going to be able to just put him on any defense and make it work. I think he's a certain role for him, but yeah, I think in a 4-3 even front, where you can line him up in the 3-tech and just let him see ball, get ball. He's a guy that I think at worst is a rotational pass rusher day 1. And if he gets a little stronger, maybe by year 2, year 3, he can become a full-time starter, but a guy that I think instantly gives you a rotational value player right out of the gate, especially on 3rd down. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, guys, do us a favor. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. We've got a ton more draft content, breakdowns, takes coming your way. And be sure to subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't already. It's free. We've got exclusive articles, bonus NFL draft content like my mock draft, my top 25 big board, and lots of good stuff over there. pintglassfootball.com. Sign up today if you haven't already. Once again, guys, I'm Brad Fowler. He's Alex Higdon. This is Pint Glass Football, and we'll catch you next time.